Good evening, everyone, and welcome back. Happy New Year to everyone. This is our January 19th Reinvest New Ulm Committee, or the RENU Committee. Thanks for those in attendance, the guests in the audience, and the viewers on public television. We'll call our meeting to order, and the first item of business would be review of the minutes from the January 5th meeting, 2016. And those were sent out ahead of time in our packet, and would be looking for any corrections, recommendations, or discussion on the minutes from our prior meeting. I would share at least. I found it to be a very informative and important meeting. Thought we accomplished a lot, so thank you for all the input and discussion last meeting. If there's no corrections, could I get a motion for approval?
I'll offer a motion to file the minutes as stated.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
And we have a second. Any more discussion on the minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Pretty light agenda tonight for this meeting. We had the criteria selection grid was attached. Can look at other business. I know at least one other item we've been carrying forward from meeting to meeting would be promotion of our activity and just getting information out through the media and in the community. And I believe Mr. Messenger can give a short update from the chamber in a little bit. The other item that I wanted to at least prep and not put any surprise on anyone here tonight, after hopefully Janelle would be willing to walk through our criteria again as she presented last meeting, but I'm hoping everyone here tonight would be willing to at least share from their own kind of position of who they represent or just being a member of the community. Your thoughts about the criteria and kind of what today is important to you and kind of as you think about our community and our time ahead. I know last meeting we talked about kind of at the end of this process maybe doing kind of a private voting on the ranking, and I guess I would still support that, but I know I would benefit from the perspectives of all of you in the room. I mean, tonight I kind of come with my own perspectives and what's kind of shaping my view today, but I would appreciate hearing from everyone gathered here tonight so that as we kind of move forward in the next couple weeks, next couple months of trying to get to finalizing this ranking and prioritization process, I just would like to broaden my view and hope the others would be interested in as well. So this is maybe like the 5 or 10 minute warning. I'll let you kind of walk us through any updates from last meeting, but this is the 5 minute warning or 10 minute warning of, I'm going to ask everyone we'll go, maybe start at Bob and I go through the whole commission here tonight. If you could just share a few things that you think are rising to the top in importance of criteria for projects. Sound okay? All right. Janelle, would you be willing to provide an update this evening on the document that was included?
Yep. So I included all the changes we talked about a couple weeks ago. And in addition to that, I added definitions for each of the criteria just so that we don't, community safety could mean one thing to somebody and something different to another. So I don't know if you all have had a chance to read through those. I think what I'll do is just go through each of them just to make sure, I guess we all agree that was the intent or should be the intent of each of the criteria. So I'll just start there with community safety. Proposal that provides greater safety, this is very vague, but greater safety or prevents dangerous, hazardous situations in the community. I guess any thoughts on that one, or is that what everybody was?
Sounds good.
Diverse community benefit, proposal that benefits community members of all ages, race, socioeconomic status, etc. Diverse community interest, different from diverse community benefit in that this proposal may not directly benefit all members of the community, but the interest is high among the community. Regional benefit, the proposal benefits those living outside the city limits of New Ulm without creating redundancy or competition for neighboring communities. Local benefit, The proposal benefits those living within the city limits of New Ulm. Economic development growth, proposal that either directly brings revenue to the city of New Ulm or indirectly causes other New Ulm businesses to grow financially. Low ongoing subsidization, proposal that is low operating costs or generates enough revenue to cover its operating costs. Alternate funding not available, a proposal that has exhausted other means of funding or found none to exist. Expand social well-being. We had a little bit of discussion on this before. Originally, I had health fitness, and I think someone had mentioned adding arts theater. When I did that, I felt like there were 4 or 5 things we could have there. So instead, I said expand social well-being in that, you know, it enables health fitness, art theater, social integration, social contribution within the community. You know, for instance, like a park, it could be health and fitness. It's a great way to meet people, you know, things like that. I think even art theater, you know, if you have a community that, you know, people want to, I don't know. So I think all those things are important, but whether we list them separately, I don't know if that's necessary. So I guess any thoughts on that one?
I really like the way you've expanded it because that's kind of what we were trying to narrow it
Right.
last time, and I really like the way you've expanded it because that includes a lot of things
Right.
I was thinking that brought me here to do my retirement here because of the
Right.
quality of life in
Right.
our community. And we
Right.
want to keep that going and,
Yeah.
and even expand it. So I really
Well, and
like.
from someone who has moved here not knowing anybody, you know, it's ways to get, you know, you out and meeting other people.
Networking.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So, but I think listing them separately is a little overkill because I don't know that one alone deems enough pull, I guess, or ranking. So that was the thought behind that. And then lastly, urgency, proposal that is urgent to the community or if not completed will result in greater future risk. This is one that Brian mentioned. You know, one that may not fall under any of these categories, but needs to be done. So I guess the other thing that was mentioned was, I don't remember this from the meeting, but I saw it in the minutes, changing the criteria importance instead of 1 through 3 to 1 through 5. Was that an agreement? Maybe I missed that, but is that,
necessarily, I had heard it,
okay,
and I wanted to make sure it was in the minutes, but I didn't remember, it was either right
Okay.
after or
Yep.
as we were kinda, right at the end, there was a lot of conversation going
Right.
back and forth.
Yeah,
and-
we
and
we
so I-
certainly didn't vote on it, but
Yeah, we didn't vote on it, but somehow it was in my ear.
okay. And that's fine. I guess now is the time. Does any thoughts on,
Could you just,
Yep.
maybe for the benefit of the commission here, or committee, kind of review that criteria importance column and why that's important through the kind of methodology of the ranking?
yep. So I think, you know, it'll help give us kind of an idea of, like, say one proposal comes in, just to throw out an example, say the hockey rink, because that's what was used last year. I think if you were to, it gives you a good comparison against, it ranks the criteria against each other to say which one's more important than another.
And there was,
I
if I
guess-
remember correctly, like a multiplier for the
Yep,
points.
so
points.
say hockey rink, community safety, it would be, I guess, no correlation. And so that would be 0 points. But diverse community benefit, you know, one could argue maybe there's a 2 there. And so the hockey rink then would be a multiplier to say community safety would be a 0, but hockey rink, you could argue, we feel a 3 is a high importance for diverse community benefit, but a hockey rink would maybe be a low, or potentially a 3. That's what we would all have to discuss. And then all those would be, each of the correlation ranks of each proposal is multiplied against the criteria and then added up. So you get kind of a weighted average score.
Everyone remember that or understand that from last time? Okay. Anything else on the sheet you want to outline, or?
And I think just for explanation
Yep.
purposes, though, that 3 2s and the ones, you know, I felt that they were just placeholders because collectively we haven't
No.
we haven't selected one.
I mean,
that
you
said
all
this
know
one.
probably what I think.
Yep. And that's fine. I just want
I just threw them out
I
there.
just want it to be on you know, on the record. So
Yeah,
if
more
anybody's
as an
going like,
example.
wow,
Yep.
I don't agree with that number. That has not been really
Yep.
set yet.
Yeah, I think the process was to eventually vote individually or privately on the criteria, and then when the proposals come in, vote privately on the correlation as well, right?
Mhm.
And then compile and use that at least as
Yeah.
a
At least that's what we
Right.
discussed
Mm-hmm.
last meeting.
Yeah, so we think even each of the proposals should be voted on separately or privately when they come in as well.
filled out, I think, was the
Yeah,
wishes of the
I
group.
think that's what we talked about.
Okay.
to prevent, you know, the loudest person ruling the roost.
Well, and then the results of that will be a tool for us to use.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I was
Right,
gonna
not
say,
a
as long as
finality.
we can have still open dialogue as to why or, okay,
Gives us some
And I
measurement.
would,
yeah. Because the intent for this was to, not just to get a score, but to have healthy, you know, efficient and effective dialogue, so.
and that was one of my kind of intentions for this evening of why I think discussion around the criteria could be helpful, because if we all just come here and go fill out our private ballot and, you know, the power for me, the benefit of a committee is the sharing of knowledge, the sharing of experience, the sharing
Right.
of perspective. So I think throughout this process, as many times as we can come back to a group dialogue, I'm fine with continuing to support or endorse the opportunity for people to score things, but that has to come back to probably start with the discussion, then score, then come back to even more discussion. Okay. I guess what I'd be interested in next is if we could have at least everyone have the opportunity to kind of speak to these criteria. Again, a thanks to Janelle for putting in the time and effort related to getting us to this point. I think it's a lot of great work, helpful for us, but things I'd be interested in. One, what do you think about the criteria? Do you have a number in mind? My count is we're at a list of 10. Does it seem appropriate for us? Is there a kind of a range there that we feel is too many or too few? And then of those criteria, I'm going to assume you would have spoken up if there's something not on the list, but you can still bring things up. It's not like we're too late for that. But of the criteria listed here, I know which ones kind of rise to the top for you as you're thinking about potential projects and our opportunity with the reauthorization. Would be interested in everyone sharing, I guess, tonight. And then we can come back after everyone's done and kind of discuss next steps with the criteria selection grid and whether we're ready to kind of take it to the next phase of doing some private ranking on the criteria for our next meeting or the following meeting, and then again have other business with promotion updates. So Bob, could I pick on you to
Sure.
start?
Sure,
Would you kick us off? Thank you.
sure. And when the discussion began at the last meeting about these criteria, that's when I dashed out the door. So forgive me if I cover some ground that was covered last time. But initially, when I looked through this criteria, I wondered about the diverse community interest criteria versus local benefit, and whether that might be, those two might be very similar. Do we debate that, or is that just my comment?
Well, I can look to the rest of the committee here. Would you like to discuss that now, or should I record some of these and then kind of capture them for our discussion once we get through the comments?
I like the idea of just going around,
Okay.
writing them down, and then let's
Kinda
hash it
come
out
back
after
and
that.
see
That way
if there's
everybody
common
gets a chance
themes.
to speak. We might not be able to cover it all tonight.
Sure.
You know, just,
Sure. Okay.
and then, somebody might get other thoughts on, think about it.
And community safety, you know, it's got the highest importance, and I understand that safety is important, but to me, that type of project, you would think we would be looking at, from a community standpoint, of funding through the general fund, through taxpayers, rather than, you know, I view the sales tax as something in addition to what we normally do in the city. And so anything that really has a community safety need, you'd think would be handled anyway, even if we didn't have sales tax. So,
Okay.
so you know, the importance of that criteria would be lower in my mind.
I'm going to give an example of a community safety item. North Highland and Highway 14 does not have a controlled intersection at this point in time. It likely will not be funded by the state of Minnesota because the traffic count is not high enough to warrant that. It's just simple as that. There's just not enough vehicles going through that intersection to make it unsafe. Now, talk to anybody who drives up there
Exactly.
and you're watching the cars, you're kind of going
Exactly.
like,
Right.
you know.
And certain times of the day and certain times of the week,
Right.
and
So
with
it's
the high school up there.
So it's, yeah, and that's not even taking into account the potential traffic coming off of the new high school. But my point, I guess, is, again, the state's responsible for that. They're not going to do it, but it would be nice. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And
Same thing for some other things where you could say, you know, we just don't have the money for that, so we either do it this way or don't do it this way. So you can kind of take some of those safety things, and they don't fit into the, well, that's handled by other things, because the state's, like I say, the state's not going to put it in until the traffic counts gets up. But I've not met anybody in the community who said, we need an intersection, we need a controlled intersection up there. And so that, to me, that falls into, that would be nice too. If the city said, we're going to put a light in no matter what the state says, they're not going to fund it, but we're going to do it because we believe that's an important thing for our community. So it doesn't quite fit your definition of safety, that it should be funded through normal taxation. It kind of falls in the, it would be nice category. So if nothing else, I just, you know, expand your, you know, when you see these things come down the road and you're going to have to do some analysis on this, everything's not going to be so black and white that it's going to be so easy. There's going to be a lot of gray area. That's my belief.
Well, I think the way the model's designed, it doesn't hurt it to have it there, because
Right.
if there is funding available for something like that, it's gonna be offset by the scoring. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Bob, other comments on the criteria?
well, and
What's important to
yeah,
you?
and
Yeah.
you know, as far as the, you know, my philosophy on the safety and where that should be taken care of, then I look at the number one under expand social well-being, and that's something that would be nice to have. And so, you know, I view the sales tax as trying to take care of some of those nice to haves. And so I would argue that we need to up that social well-being to a 2. So that's my input.
Thank you, Bob. That's exactly what I was looking for. Kathleen?
Well, I have seen it come along from all of its, you know, evolution, and I really like it. I was a grant writer for Mankato State University for a number of years, and then I've written grant proposals for public education and been pretty successful with that. And I like the idea of having a variety of standards to judge it on, and I suppose I could quibble back and forth about what should be a 3 and what should be a 2 and what should be a 1. I like it the way it stands, so that's where I come down, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. Thank you. Jeff?
Well, representing the chamber, I think probably the strongest piece that the group would say is what's going to be a good economic driver, what's going to make New Ulm, what's going to take New Ulm to the next step. How do we get more people in here, not only on the weekend, but during the regular week? How do we get more people to come in and spend their time and resources here and say, this is a cool place to retire, this is a cool place to live?
Yeah.
How do we get more people into our restaurants? How do we get people into our businesses, support our businesses, develop other businesses? And so from an economic standpoint, I think that's the important piece to the chamber and to New Ulm. You know, I too see the expand social well-being as something that's going to help generate folks, help get people to come here, whether it's the theater or whether it's sports facilities and complex. As we think about the previous process where we brought in a double sheet of ice, what's the impact been on the community, all of our, again, restaurants and all of our hotels, to bring folks in when we have tournaments and 150 people that come in, you know, whether
Yeah.
for all the tournaments that we have. Same thing for baseball, same thing for all of the athletic activities that go on. So those are probably, from a personal standpoint and from a chamber standpoint, two of the bigger pieces.
So, from a PUC standpoint, obviously community safety, local benefit, urgency are kind of the things that rise high on the list for me, and I certainly haven't yet seen projects that we're bringing forth from a PUC standpoint and from the city standpoint, but I know they will be there. From my personal perspective, really it kind of aligns with the rest of the group, and that I really want to see projects that will just make us a stronger city, that will make us a more attractive city to bring in, whether it's young families or retirees. So really things that help with diverse community benefit, things that help with regional benefit, things that expand social well-being, things that make people come here, interview for jobs, and say, yeah, this is a place I want to be.
Okay, thank you. Kathleen?
How much time do I have? Well, exactly.
We'll have Kathleen
Just
go
kidding.
last.
Just kidding. Community safety, while I think it's important, I would lower the importance. I would flip-flop the diverse community benefit with the diverse community interest, because I think a lot of projects won't benefit all of us, but as long as there's an interest in the community to support that project, that might not serve them, but it makes us a more whole community. So I would, flip-flop the two of those, the benefit of 2 and the interest of 3. Economic development, I would boost that to a 3. I think that's very important to our community. The low ongoing subsidizing, I think that's an important piece. If a lot of times we bring a project to the table and the hidden costs of operating, repair, and replacement, if we can have some partners in that operating and replacement piece going forward, and I think a 2 is good there. The expanding the social well-being, I would bump that up to a 2 or a 3. I just think a healthy community, a community with a lot of opportunity, is going to be attractive, not only for families to relocate, but for retirees to relocate as well. I'm done.
I still think you have at least a couple of minutes left if you want the floor. Thank you, Kathleen. Why don't we go back over here and we'll come back to the middle. Jeff?
Okay. I think the grid is fine. I'm looking at the scoring, and 10 criteria categories I think are great. From a citizen standpoint, I'm looking at local benefit, economic development, and ongoing subsidy, because just talking with people on the street, people that have been approached, talk to me about it, they're looking for something that, what's in it for us? without raising taxes. That's where the low ongoing subsidy is. And, you know, most people you talk to, they want to see growth in New Ulm, because when New Ulm grows, you attract more business, more amenities. You get less people driving out of town than to shop and spend their money. So I think those three are probably from an average citizen, those three are big.
Great, thanks, Jeff. Larry?
I represent the city council. I guess, I think 10 is enough, for criteria. I guess what's important to me is economic development and growth. And expands social well-being too, because, I like the fact that we can try to make ourselves an anchor and build upon it. And if we build, people will come or they're going to stay and, make it a destination, and they're going to dine out, they're going to, use our hotels, or, they're going to need gas, groceries, and I guess, if I was going to rate them, I think economic development growth, I would go a little higher, and I think social well-being could be a little higher, in that aspect. Just a couple of my thoughts.
Janelle,
Yeah.
you had an opportunity, but would you like to add
I guess
anything?
I'll just comment on, I agree, economic development and growth would probably be my number one thing. I guess my biggest fear for this town or any town is, keeping the quaintness and the busyness of the downtown, which, drew me in when I came here. The fact that there's diversity down there, there's places to eat, places to shop, but also businesses and things like that. To me, it's a good. And so you drive through some of these smaller communities and it's a ghost town and you wonder what happened. And I guess for me, I just want to make sure we, as a community, make sure that's healthy and growing. And so that would be definitely a 3 for me. And then as having small children, moving into a community where we didn't know many people, probably expand social well-being would be a high priority for me as well.
Okay, thank you. Tried to capture those comments. Agree with myself. Much of what's been shared would, and part of it's probably influenced by even the last few months in the community with the Target decision. I guess I'm kind of starting to lean more toward economic development and, what are projects that can differentiate New Ulm? I kind of have this saying I share with others, that what could kind of place us as the only rather than one of many in a category? As we look around the region, look around southern Minnesota, what could elevate New Ulm to a regional hub, regional center, and meet that? And I think it's helpful, and the industry I work in at the medical center, building competitive advantages to try to bring in the top talent that we can for the healthcare of not only the citizens of New Ulm, but the region. We're continuing to need differentiators for New Ulm. So improving that to help us with workforce, not just the healthcare industry, but other industries, and hopefully promote other business growth happening in the community. I also think a lot about how this whole sales tax works. We look at funding projects for a period of up to 20 years, and all of our modeling has to kind of show that if we do that even conservatively, we are banking on that sales tax is going to be maintained at a level to take care of the debt service, so we don't have to come back into other funding from the city. So the stability of the sales tax itself is vital to the future of this community if we decide to reauthorize. So I think of a framework also of what are projects that could help New Ulm's kind of economic development, help the retail, help the sales growth, to make sure that this thing can almost feed itself. Of we invest in projects, bring more people, keep more people in New Ulm, kind of incentivizing, hopefully having that, I think what Larry had said, spending the dollars, or Jeff said, spending the dollars in New Ulm, that then helps the sales tax and gives us some peace of mind of, hey, those projects that we invested in, not only did they help on many of these indicators, but we've minimized the risk of not having this thing go underwater or upside down on us 5 years in, 10 years in. And I would imagine, Bob, last time there had to be at least some thought about, what are projects that would help us keep a strong economic base to fund the sales tax. Because if there's a lot of activity and it doesn't come through the sales tax, I mean, there can be a lot of nice activity, a lot of nice things to have in this community, a lot of nice services. At the end of the day, if they don't in some way generate sales tax, we're going to have to pay that bill some other way. And that makes me a little nervous. So I'll kind of go on record of at least stating that. So I don't know how clear that linkage can be from a project to a sales tax support or mechanism, but at least I've had that thought, and especially given the news over the last few months of losing at least part of that sales tax base with Target. Got to keep my comments at that, at least for tonight. I don't think this is the last discussion on the prioritization process or ranking. But I do want to.
I would just add,
Please.
my first perception is that nobody's wrong. You know, everybody's got their piece of the elephant, and they're describing that according to their constituency. And that when it's all said and done, I think there's going to be some projects, as Toby explained, that are going to be low annual income, high return, high sales tax at benefit. And there's probably going to be a project or two that might cost some tax dollars to operate. And there'll be some projects that are focused on maybe a group that hasn't received a lot of attention in this community for a while. You know, I think back to the rollerblade park or the skate park. You know, we saw kids running all over the city with their skateboards and rollerblades. And finally they said, hey, the hockey people got a $9 million facility. Why can't we have something? So I think you're going to see an assortment of programs and projects put before you that are going to run the spectrum of everything, you know, that you said. And I think it's going to be I think it's going to be fun and interesting seeing how these things play out. Because I've heard nothing but people coming up with some really interesting projects that I never would have thought of before. So there's a lot of people out there, you know, using their brain cells to come up with the projects you guys have all described to some extent. So.
Agree. Let's all remember we're here to have fun also. So this is fun, right? Okay.
Parts of it.
Help me if I didn't capture things in my notes well enough. I heard a lot of comments of moving, you know, one of the criteria up or down from at least the baseline recommendation that Janelle provided us with. But there were a couple comments, I believe, around even just if one criteria overlaps or is redundant with another, and some people said it looks fine just the way it is. But we started off with Bob, and I think you had mentioned number 3 and number 5, diverse community interest and local benefit. Is that correct? So kind of look for more discussion here of whether you think they are distinct and specific in their own way, or should we look at combining?
Well, I like the contrast between diverse community benefit and diverse community interest, and then the regional benefit and the local benefit. I like that contrast between the two different things. And if we combine them, then I think that's maybe a little bit lost. That's my perspective.
I concur with that.
I think a good way, if we could think of an example where they would be mutually exclusive, like Viking Stadium, which is, I don't know, I always think of that one.
Yeah, I think you
To
brought
me, that
one
has
up.
a diverse community benefit. It also has a diverse community interest for those that maybe will
Would
never go
never
to a
go.
Vikings game.
Yeah.
It has a regional benefit because it's going to pull people in from all over the world, potentially. And it also has a local benefit. So that's how I see them as being all, you know, worth being a part of the criteria. Now, that's a big example, but
Well, I taught a class, a driver's safety class for AARP in Sleepy Eye this afternoon. And the community ed director said, you know, because I mentioned that I had to get to this meeting, and she said, you know, I hope they understand that nothing better happen to that indoor pool, because that is the only one in the area, and we depend on that indoor pool for our kids to come over and have lessons, and our kids to be trained as lifeguards. And that also was something, they handed out a survey, and this is, I don't know, maybe even last year. But what would you think if the current pool were demolished and a water park were built? And the people that I exercise in the morning with, the senior citizens, were horrified. You know, yeah, a water park where, and I have nothing against children playing in a water park, but we have all of our seniors are in that pool in the morning exercising, and that's just what we do. And I think, you know, that's a more local, regional example even than, you know, the stadium, because this is something, you know, I think a big part of why I was asked to be part of this committee is, hey, don't let them forget us, because we use it every day, you know, and I see that as being a good way to figure in our criteria. So that's an example just today. And I know that there are people from even farther away than Sleepy Eye that send their kids for lessons here, because it's inconvenient to have lessons during the summer. They want them during the school year. And they expect our pool to train their lifeguards, because they don't do it. So,
Well, we have Director Schmitz here. He can squash those rumors. They're not going to take your pool away. They only want to make it better, right, Director Schmitz?
well, and exactly, that's what I kind of, you know, and I got kind of all concerned too, and I went to somebody and, oh no, it's just, well, I talk to Brian nearly every day, Brian Batt, and he said, well, you know, the pool is showing its age, and there are some things I can hardly manage anymore, because this is breaking and this is, you know, blah, blah, blah. So that's enough. I don't need to
Okay.
elaborate.
So as far as those 4 criteria go, I like them. I actually I like them as is. We can, you know, I would debate the importance of them, but I kind of like to further expand kind of what you were saying, Bob. I kind of look at it as really measuring different things. So you know, that local benefit is, you know, just the people of New Ulm. Regional outside New Ulm, where the diverse is lots of groups or very few groups within New Ulm. And then within those lots of groups or very few groups, is there wide interest amongst those groups? You know, so it's almost like turns, those 4 kind of make a 3-dimensional, in my mind, picture of how it benefits the overall community and who would be interested in it. So I think as is, I kind of think they're all important.
Well, and hearing it being fleshed out a little bit, I understand it better than I initially did, so.
No, it
Just
was
needed that
said.
three-dimensional image, Bob.
Exactly.
There you go, Sean. You helped us all there.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was a
Janelle,
good
you're-
description.
Again, kudos to Janelle. I think you did a really nice job.
I would like to point out, though, and I think I was one of those people that maybe said it in the meeting, and I'm sure I was talking about it after the meeting as well, which is maybe where Brian captured in the notes. I do think expanding beyond a 1 to 3 in the criteria importance would be of value, because what I hear a lot is, I do hear that kind of debate of, well, it's more than a 1, maybe it's not a 2, to, if you went to a 1 to 5, then at least we have
It would magnify that distribution a little more.
a little bit more than the 1 to 3,
Yep, that's fine.
personal.
I guess, does anybody oppose that?
No.
Okay.
I support it.
So what I'm hearing is support for moving the criteria to 1 to 5, and on the right side for the proposals, we'd also be using a 0 to 5 on the correlation or how it fits that specific criteria. Does the committee feel like you would like more time to discuss this at another meeting, or would you be interested in having, I'm viewing kind of an electronic submission, Survey Monkey, something where you could click on kind of your criteria importance from 1 to 5 and collate those and kind of see where the averages come back and report that back through the committee? Are we ready for that? Or do you like more time to review and discuss?
I'm ready.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't mean that has to be final either, right? We can
right,
have,
right.
have a, a second round, but that's the case. I'm gonna look to Brian or Janelle. What,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, do you want to just have people fill this out in Excel? Would you want to do it electronically through a website, or
I mean, I can have staff
These-
here at City Hall just
send it out to
something
everyone?
just like you
Mhm.
get your agendas and whatnot,
Okay.
and then you can just send it back to us, and we'll collate it, and we'll have it ready for the next meeting.
Any other discussion on the criteria selection grid or process? Great discussion. Thanks for all of the valuable input. On to item number 4, other business. Again, one item there was maybe an update on the promotional activities for our RENU committee. Jeff Messenger, could you
Sure.
provide an update?
Last time we got together, we talked a little bit about how many proposals have we received, and was our campaign or our advertising campaign using KNUJ and the Journal getting what we wanted. And so one of the things that I think we wanted to talk about were, should we employ other methods to engage the community, and then actually to find out how many proposals we have to date and how many more do we want to get. So I engaged Audra from the chamber, and she engaged her team, brought Brian in on the conversation, and I think at the maybe end of last week, started a Facebook page. Don't know if anybody's seen it yet. I think there were 74 likes when we looked at it earlier today, so I think there's getting some traction. I think it's a way that the chamber thinks that it can engage more citizens on the activities. One, give them more information on the process. Two, ask for all of the great proposals, and again, get folks excited about having that next big thing for New Ulm. So thank you for working with Audra and getting the Facebook.
Sure, she did all the work, but interestingly enough, we had sent a notice out, for the Journal to reinitiate, information or discussion, and so I went to my staff and I said, we should make sure we do that, and she said, well, pretty sure we did. So we actually had to go back in the newspaper to try and find it, and we couldn't even find it. And so we called up the Journal and said, was that done? And they said, oh yeah, it's on page so-and-so. And so even my own staff and myself, when I'm looking through the newspaper, it didn't pop out at
Jump
me.
off
It's
the page,
there,
yeah.
but it's not with flashing lights and double borders and all the other stuff. We were told that next time it will cost us. It won't be a free public press release kind of a thing. So if it's going to cost us, we can obviously do then whatever we want.
Right.
And we can make them box ads. We can make them a little snazzier. We can make them dress it up a little bit more to catch somebody's eye. So in that respect, the next ones they'll probably a little bit more noticeable than the ones that were put out there.
Just curious on has anyone been out to the Facebook page here? Couple? Three? For the others that haven't, I'm sorry, I think we're running ahead of schedule. I don't know how much we allocate for these meetings, but they have more humor than I do down at the chamber. So they started to post on here, and this was on Friday at 2:38, so the day before the 25 below day. It says, it's going to be cold this weekend, and you should really get caught up on where the RENU committee is on the process of the local option sales tax. Here's the link for the meeting agendas and packets. That was funny. And the next one was Friday afternoon. If you had won the Powerball, what community project would you complete? while the sales tax won't generate $1.5 billion, it does raise an amount that can make significant projects and regional improvements, and it goes on and on and on. So anyway, I
Yeah,
think
that
they're,
is cute.
in a witty way, having a little fun with this too, and hopefully engaging the community and starting some dialogue.
Either way, it's good press. You know, we got to keep
it
our
is.
name out.
Yep, so far.
Yeah.
All right.
The only thing I would just add as under other business, and that would just simply be that Reg Forwork, our finance director, did contact the state of Minnesota and trying to get some more, more detailed information as compared to just the sales tax
Big lump
data.
sum number, yeah.
Here's the big picture.
That's good.
And the state's willing to give Reg the detailed information. Unfortunately, nobody else gets it. Reg gets it, and he can boil it down and extrapolate some information, but nobody else gets to see it. That's just the way it is. And he hopes to have, he's received some information already, and he hopes to have something that he can report back at the second meeting in February.
Okay.
So there's a
That'd be
timing
helpful.
thing that comes into play. 2013 information is already on the state web page. 2014, they're getting close to putting it on. And we all know that 2015 is long past, and we're into 2016. So we won't have that immediate information. They stated it takes about a year to get all the data collected from the prior year put into the system. And we have no control over that, but we'll get as much current information as we can, but it likely will only be for 2014 at the earliest. And we were really kind of hoping, as the city council might have seen tonight, they had the report on the local option sales tax revenue stream coming in, and you can see the 2015 and 2014 are kind of certain months are down, and you go like, why is that? Why are the best shopping months of the year that's supposed to be so great for Christmas, why are they down? You can see where car sales are going extremely good, and if you read the headlines in the paper recently, they're saying car sales are as strong as ever, best year ever for the car industry. Well, that's reflected in the sales tax, the numbers we're getting. But I think we want to know, why is the retail down? Where is what quadrant of the retail commercial entity is lagging? Maybe it's the categories, general merchandise or clothing or lumber. That's the information I'm really looking forward to trying getting a hold of. But we'll get you as much as we can in as much detail as we can that the state will allow us to do.
Thank you. And just out of curiosity, have you received any letter of intent or short form proposals yet?
I think there's one in the hopper right now. I expect, like I said, I've probably talked to 10 or 12 different entities that have stated that they were interested in doing something.
Okay. So the flurry's coming.
Yeah, it'll be coming here. I think the closer to January 26th it is, the more flurrier it'll get.
Okay. Any other business this evening or updates from the committee? Well, thank you for spending your time here and investment with RENU. Look forward to our next meeting, the first Tuesday of February. Meeting's adjourned.